perception used to be AI is disrupting this from the outside. The reality really is that the LSIs and LTPs sit inside and enable organizations to extract value from AI. Hey everyone, glad to be back. Hello, Esther.
Hi, Florian.
It's been a month. No, actually more than a month. 5 weeks.
2 months.
No,
Yeah.
not 2 months, maybe 5-6 weeks. Anyway, so we are back from various activities, back from London. Had the whole team there, or not the whole team, but many of the team, and ran a quick conference, right?
Quick conference. Yeah, that's a bit of an understatement, but yes, we had SlatorCon London.
Yeah, very, very nice conference. So, but just before we go and do a quick wrap up of SlatorCon London, we haven't been inactive on podcasting. We recorded a podcast with DeepL called the New Fluency Podcast. So go and put that into Spotify or YouTube. That was Alex and myself. We recorded that. Alex Edwards, head of consulting at Slator, recorded a podcast with DeepL. So head over there and subscribe to the New Fluency Podcast. Now, let's go back to SlatorCon London. Massive turnout. We filled the room, 250 people. That's a record.
Yeah, great turnout. Great turnout.
Great turnout. I mean, we keep saying records, but we are actually setting new records with each conference. So this 250 people, that is a new record. It's also kind of capacity of the room. I don't think you could have maybe added maybe a couple dozen more, but then it would have gotten really cozy out there in the networking area. We actually also had a breakout room. What was this? What was it called? The Sayuri room, the Sakura room. It's all Japanese themed.
I can't remember which one it was because there are two that sound very similar.
Right, and this was really cool. So we had these startup tracks and the research tracks, right? So we had researchers presenting in front of these research posters, as you call them when you go to these big research conferences. And then we had a number of startups that were pitching their products 5-10 minutes. So that was really cool. I hung out there for a couple of sessions. And then we also had amazing traffic in the exhibitor space. Lots of people going into the exhibitor space. The main conference room opened into the exhibitor space, and so they got a lot of traffic there. That was great. And also no last minute stress on our side. Remember, Esther, in 2025 when the screen broke?
Yes.
So we have this giant screen that when you take the photos and stuff, it looks really great in the background. And in 2025, that giant screen broke because somebody, I spoke to the producer this time, and he remembered, and he told me that last year somebody unplugged, like some hotel staff unplugged the screen just accidentally, like in a different room. They just unplugged it, and so
Whoops.
so the AV people that we hired didn't know that person unplugged it, and so they had to like manually recable it right before we started. I think it was about 20 minutes before we started, right?
Well, they fixed it. That was, long story short, they fixed it, and we ran a successful conference in 25 as well.
Nobody realized it, but you and I were standing there like, all right, well, we just lost like one of the major pieces of infrastructure here 20 minutes before the show was set to start. So this time we were, entering or, climbed up to the stage in deep chill mode because everything worked. And so, that was good for nerves. Cool. And agenda, look, we're doing a bunch of follow-up coverage. Check out the YouTube video and all the cool like YouTube interviews and summaries we're gonna be publishing. Nice mix of kind of LSI giants and like fast rising LTPs. We had the Sea of Gradium on a panel, Voice AI. So pretty cool summary, or pretty cool lineup there. And we also have an amazing lineup now starting to shape up for San Francisco for those of you who are in the US, Canada, or want to take a trip there. Happening right after the World Cup. So, bringing back some much needed tourism to San Francisco. No, just kidding. But let me go through to the agenda. So already have a few confirmed speakers, super exciting. So we have Marlon Duarte, who's the Director of Hospitality and Language Services at UCLA Health. And, for those of us in Europe who, struggle to understand the size of US healthcare, UCLA Health is a massive academic medical system comprising of like 126 locations in the greater LA area. They have a total workforce of 34,000 employees.
So many.
34,000 employees. That's a lot of people.
I'm just surprised that we have that Marlon has this hospitality and language services job title.
It's
It's like
part of
I'd
the
love to
service.
understand. Yeah, I'd love to understand how those, fit together or not.
It's because it's part of a bigger experience in the US, right? It's a patient experience. And if you're there and you don't speak English, it's part of the experience that you get that language service. So yeah, but we'll ask Marlon. And then also super excited to have Emily Xue, head of enterprise AI at Scale AI, as a speaker. Really, really cool. Teresa Marshall, VP Globalization at Salesforce. Eliza Dubleva from Coca-Cola Europe Pacific Partners also joining. And then on the LTP side, we got Georg from Phrase, CEO, Marco Trombetti, CEO of Translated, and Gabriel Fairman from Works. And we're working on a bunch more speakers and panelists. So, happening September 2nd and 3rd in San Francisco. So join us there. And let's move on to our market report. Major new piece of research out. Have you read all of it, Esther?
To be honest, no. I mean, I certainly will, but obviously it's quite a lot of pages and quite a lot of content.
Pages. Yeah,
And it was released the day before SlatorCon, so I was a little bit busy.
That is true. No, I mean, it's also, we're drawing from a bunch of research that we published already. So I think, especially Slator team, we're going to be familiar with quite a lot of it. But yeah, amazing piece of research, 125 pages. Let me just go through some of the chapters. We got the language AI, language solutions and AI market overview. We got the scope, market size and scope. We expanded the scope and the TAM last year. So we're looking into this by vertical, by buyer profile, by geography. We again looked at buyer intentions, then basically language AI in the AI economy. So looked at the different capabilities and how these companies and players are positioned in the bigger AI ecosystems. Then we look at the LSIs and LTPs over 30 pages and how they fit into the picture. We ran a bunch of surveys, one of them on the buyer side, then on the linguist side. Then we have a couple of special chapters on US language access, AI dubbing, language AI in legal, and of course, your corner, M&A and funding. And then we do a market outlook. So amazing piece of research here that's informing our views on the market, and it should inform yours as well. So go and get a copy or subscribe. I think it's coming with the Growth Pro and Enterprise subscription that we have. So go and get that. Now, I want to just share some thoughts that I also discussed in London. And this draws heavily, of course, on that piece of research. So, I mean, first, the mood was somewhat different this time in London. I feel that we definitely, moved from a kind of like looking at AI as something that's kind of disrupting the established space that we've all lived in from the outside to what really is much more the reality that LSIs and LTPs sit inside the AI economy, and they really enable organizations to extract value from AI. I mean, just having a Claude or a ChatGPT subscription, isn't gonna deliver your enterprise outcome across the entire org. And that was also a big topic, for example, that we had on the panel with TripAdvisor and Phrase. We're like, okay, you cannot just build all of this yourself. You cannot DIY the entire localization workflow with all its different assets and users and scalability and nuance just from scratch, right? So perception used to be AI is disrupting this from the outside. The reality really is that, the LSIs and LTPs sit inside and enable organizations to extract value from AI. I think it bears repeating. So
I think it's a really crucial shift as well, like mentally, even if we know it to be true, I think articulating it is important, and knowing how to sort of speak about that when you're in conversations with clients or, investors or what have you.
it also switches the framing around. It gets you out of this defensive posture that, oh no, there's this bad thing that's coming from the outside and it's kind of nibbling away, to like, no, hang on. Like, we're very much part of this. When you speak to like AI native companies like Sonos, who we had on the podcast last time, I mean, they don't even think in these established categories, right? So it
Yeah.
almost becomes kind of how long have you been part of this like language AI space? And if it's 2 or 3 years, so you think about it very differently than if you've ran I don't know, an LSP, formerly known LSP, or like a machine translation company in 2016. Then we
Yeah.
also we tried to really frame the different parts of the stack here, the market that we're tracking. So, I mean, I'm not going to share the slide here because most of the people listen to this probably on audio, but like there's 4 layers, right? You got the foundational AI, that's all the hyperscalers, the Geminis, the OpenAIs, the Anthropics. Then on top of that, you have more bespoke language AI models, the Gradiums of this world that we had at our conference, the DeepLs. Then you have the application and workflow platform layer, the phrases, the XTMs, what have you, many more. And then the managed solutions that sit on top. That's the LSI. That's the LSI layer, right? And we're not measuring the foundational AI component. We're looking at the language AI, application workflow, managed solutions, and that's the 30 billion market the total addressable market that we're tracking in the report. One thing I also want to share here is the adoption. Let me just pull this up from.
Oh yeah.
I need to pull this up from the presentation here. So, so first of all, let's talk about the market size, right? So, total addressable market, according to our research in 2025, was $30.85 billion, right? And now that's actually a decline. That's a decline compared to 2024 of 2.7%, a total decline. Now, for the LSI component, that's actually an even stronger decline. That's a 5.1% decline. And I guess that tracks with some of the companies that you're talking to or seeing out in the market, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I think overall 2.7 is obviously not a huge decline from a market level. For the LSIs, I mean, 5% decline roughly sounds more or less right. I mean, I think you have obviously some that are more pronounced and suffering worse, and some that are actually doing pretty well.
It is a tale of two worlds, really. I mean, the 5% figure is is obviously the average. I mean, there's companies that are doing really well that we're seeing, and kudos to them, and then some that are scaling back quite rapidly. So 5.1% decline for the LSIs. So this gives you a total TAM for LSIs at about $25.8 billion. And the LTP component here is nearly $5 billion. And that's actually up a lot. That's up nearly 20% compared to 2024. So that's up 19.7%. And so LTPs now make up 16%, of the TAM that we're tracking, and that's up from 13.2%. So the TLDR here really is there's a massive shift going from this lower margin type of high revenue, strong top line world of the LSIs and the historic like the LSPs towards much more tech, where of course the top line is arguably higher margin but lower volume in terms of just the sheer dollar amount. So moving
Yeah.
from a services to a tech, and tale of two worlds. Some LSIs are doing phenomenal, others aren't doing so well. Overall, the TAM is going back a little bit, and let me look at the outlook also. Maybe I'll share this with you. So our base case for we mapped this out until like 2020. No, not 2020, 2030, 2030, right. Mapped this out for 2030. We have in 2031, the base case would be the LSI component is down to 21 billion, the LTP component up to 14 billion. So
It's like
very
two
much,
thirds, right?
yeah, it's two thirds. So it's going to be a very
Not
active
quite.
space for the LTPs that we're going to be tracking. All right. Now, very different numbers are being thrown around, and this is, let's talk about it. It's relevant to this podcast. Is these mega rounds and IPO announcements by the two biggest labs, Anthropic and OpenAI. So there is Anthropic. Let's start with Anthropic. So they raised $65 billion at a $965 billion valuation. I mean, that's talk about a bubble. I don't know if this stuff isn't going to work out. Yeah, these are amounts that are unheard of, right? So,
Yeah.
and now they're also like literally a few days after they're saying they filed for an IPO. They filed confidentially for an IPO. Okay, they're telling the world that they confidentially filed. All right.
At the time, maybe it was confidential. I don't know. The
I mean, maybe
second that they did
I
it.
guess the content is confidential or something, but
I
like the
see.
filing
Okay, yeah.
itself is not confidential.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting. You'd raise like what, $65 billion, and then you file for an IPO. And obviously the purpose of an IPO is to get, capital.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
raise 65 privately, and then what are you going to raise it like a $2 trillion valuation? So
Yeah.
Anthropic,
Maybe.
yeah, and I mean the numbers I'm hearing is like 45, or I'm hearing that are out there is like they're at a $50 billion run rate ish. This is highly relevant because, of course, a lot of LTPs are building on top of or using some of this, and then if
Yeah.
Anthropic decides to, I don't know, launch and like Claude translation or something, this is going to be highly relevant as well. Same for OpenAI. They closed, I mean, that was a while ago. They closed like $100+ billion round at a $850 billion valuation. It's kind of weird to even mention these numbers. And they're also looking at a mega IPO in like late 2026. So yeah. And hey, I found this amazing website. So when you're looking at
Oh
all
yeah.
these, yeah, I need to share this. This I do want to share. Let me try to spin up the screen for those of you who are watching this on YouTube. So it's a website that's called. So if you're wondering if this is all profitable, because they're spending, literally, we're getting into like the hundreds of billions of dollars of investment and trillions of dollars of
Yeah.
of valuation. So there's a website called Is AI Profitable? And then on the right side, there's a
No.
big no. Everyone's broke, and so you can like sort by hyperscaler, by lab, so they're listing like Amazon, Alphabet, Microsoft, all the investments that are made and how much revenue that's been generated. And you have then the labs like OpenAI, Anthropic, X, Mistral, Cohere, DeepSeek. And like according to this page, the only company that's made money on this is Nvidia, right? That's why Nvidia is a
Yeah.
$5 trillion company. But anyway, it's a fun website. Head over to Is AI Profitable or Not for, I don't know, a potential it's kind of a bubble tracker. Who knows how these figures that are ingested into this website, where they're drawn from and how accurate they are. But it's a fun website. I love the layout. Now let's talk about the challenge. So let me try to segue this. Okay, so you got these, hundreds of billions of dollars that are invested. You got these frontier labs, as they're now called. And so if you're an LTP and you're looking for a moat, you're looking for something that, like the Googles and Amazons and Anthropics and OpenAIs of this world can't just kind of build, or it's gotten challenging. For example, DeepL, they announced that they were doubling down on voice translation, that they're going to open an San Francisco office, that they're going to be really doubling down on the US. And then we prepared the newsletter, our weekly newsletter that goes out to, it's a free newsletter, goes out to subscribers. And I think we sent it, and literally, I think about 20 minutes. And the angle was, hey, DeepL is, doubling down on voice, going to the US, etc. And then about 20 minutes later, you open up X and you see, oh, OpenAI just launched GPT real-time translate, So they released new audio models, 70 plus languages, outputting to 13. It's a speech-to-speech translation model. The model returns both translated audio and text transcripts while the speaker is still talking. OpenAI says it acts as an interpreter, not a conversational assistant. So like full on, like live speech translation, right? And so my point here is URD Bell. You're like, okay, text, got this under control. We have enterprise AI translation, got, thousands of clients. Let's go after
Tick, tick,
voice.
tick. Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. 5 minutes later, after you announce that you're going after it, OpenAI launches GPT Real-Time Translate. That's super difficult to really find a niche that has a kind of a frontier lab safe moat around it. I guess that's my point.
Yeah. I think we were talking a little bit about that when we had the investor panel at SlatorCon as well, weren't we? Sort of finding a niche, finding a moat. How does one go about that?
Very
So
tricky.
yeah, super relevant. Yeah.
Super relevant, super tricky. And then, yeah, how do you do that? And then it's not even not only these frontier labs. I think Zoom also, they moved into AI services with like a new translator and summarizer thingy. Let me pull this up. They also brought their AI live speech translation in-house. They had all these kind of apps that you could use on Zoom, but now I think
Yeah.
they kind of launched it in-house.
Oh.
Yeah,
So does that mean they're not going to have that kind of marketplace anymore?
I'm sure they
They'll
do,
probably
but they
keep
want to
it.
have it as a native feature. And hang on, so there's some limitations to it. So they say that Voice Translator currently supports 5 languages and is limited to paid US-based Zoom accounts. Why
Yeah, so
US-based?
we can't even test it,
Maybe we
sadly.
can, let's subscribe over in San Francisco, get a new Zoom account up and
Yeah, we'll
test
get one
it.
of our US colleagues to
Yeah.
help out.
I mean, with Google, it kind of works reasonably okay, actually. Still, like this type of interaction now would probably be too much, but if you have like a basic interaction, it works quite well. Cool. All right. So that's let's go from the world of trillion-dollar rounds and modes and all of that to a couple of sad stories or sad. The first one's not sad. The first one is interesting. The second is a bit sadder. The first one's Lovo. Had you heard about this company before they blew up? Lovo.
I don't think so. No, it
No.
wasn't really on my radar, to be honest.
So this is an AI voice startup, and I think the website was still live a couple of days ago. So they say they're a hyper-realistic AI voice generator, and they have 500 voices in 100 languages. I mean, this whole like languages seems to be like everybody's saying they have 100 plus languages. Like
Yeah,
except
table
Zoom,
stakes.
except Zoom, they have five because they actually need to make it work. But yeah, on the website, Lovo said they had 500 voices, 100 languages. But now they had to file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy in New York. And I Googled this and I'm still Googling. So Chapter 7 means it's liquidation. It's not like you're protected from creditors. I think Chapter 11, you can still
11,
operate.
yeah.
But Chapter 7 is like, okay, you're done. You liquidate. Now, why? Why does Lovo, that voice AI startup, why did they have to liquidate the company? It's because they went. I'm trying to get this right. Otherwise, I'm sure we're going to link the article in the show notes. They went on Fiverr, one of those crowd platforms, right? They bought some voice samples from voice actors, and then they just started to commercialize it and use it without permission or fair compensation. That's what plaintiffs called Paul Lerman and Linnea Sage allege. And so they said that they're seeking to represent other actors whose voices or names were also used by Lovo. Um, and yeah, so it looks like the judge initially dismissed one copyright claim tied to voice imitation, but then they allowed something. Let me read this off here. New York civil rights law claims to continue and saying that voice clones can count as digital replicas. Point being that I think Lovo people, they realized that this isn't going to end well for them, and they liquidated or they went into Chapter 7. And yeah, then the plaintiff said that the bankruptcy may prevent them from seeking full justice in court because that's probably going to end the litigation here. Let me bring this back to our Data for AI report, where actually rights management was a big part of it. Like companies like Oxford Languages, making sure that everything's properly licensed. So yeah, you want to make sure that if you use these types of this type of data and these types of for AI, you want to make sure that you actually have the rights to this data, which in this case
It's
was
like there's a bit of a
existential.
crossover. As I say, it's like there's a bit of a crossover here because the rights management stuff has been a topic of conversation for a very, very long time in the entertainment world, hasn't it? So, the right to use voices, actors' rights, etc. I suppose that still holds true, but it's just coming sort of front and center within data for AI now.
And here, I mean, I understand. Like, if you're a voice actor on Fiverr, you get paid what, $50 to record something, and then it's just like commercialize your voice. It's like, oh, I vaguely remember. Hang on, wasn't there the person, not the Siri person, but somebody who like was in like litigation with Apple or something? Anyway, we'll look this up. All right, staying with voice, text, and a sad story is a company called VIQ Solutions. We had their CEO on the podcast. I had to look this up. This was actually on 2nd October 2023. Sebastian Pare, CEO of VIQ Solutions, he joined SlatorCon, but now SlatorPod. Now that company is actually fighting for survival. Canadian, transcription company. With now they're publicly listed, so they have to disclose all this. So they have a tiny market cap now of about 5 million Canadian dollars, and their revenue fell to about 40 million US dollars, but the net loss nearly doubled to $13 million. So they ended their 2025 with negative shareholder equity. That's a pretty major red flag for solvency. And then in Australia, I know when it rains, it pours. They had a data privacy incident and had to put their local division there into voluntary administration. So like some type of, I guess, insolvency in March 2026. So yeah, court transcription, all kinds of other services they're providing. Looks like business isn't going well, and maybe they're gonna have to close up shop. So VIQ Solutions, we'll watch this very closely. Do you want to walk us through a few M&A transactions that happened since we last spoke?
Yeah, there have been a few. Obviously, I think, as we said, it's been sort of 5-6 weeks since we last caught up on the pod. So, I mean, one observation that I made, and we won't go into too much detail about this because I think voice AI has already occupied quite a lot of the of podcast today. But there are now an increasing number of acquisitions that we're tracking, we're coming across in the voice AI space. So that's acquisitions. I mean, funding, I guess, comes as no surprise that there's a lot of voice AI funding stories out there. But yeah, we've seen an increasing number of acquisitions in the space as well. But more so in the world of LSI acquisitions, we had news from a couple of super agencies and then 3-4 other stories as well. So we had TransPerfect that acquired Studio MA, which is a audiovisual post-production dubbing company based out of Rome. So that will be, I think, wrapped into TransPerfect Media.
They're so big now. TransPerfect Media is really big. If you look at all the like the credits, I'm subscribing to the EGA newsletter, and they list the credits for new releases, and TransPerfect Media is now listed quite often there as having done the dubbing or the subbing. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, they've spun up quite a sizable media localization business division within the company. But that would rival some of the larger standalone media localization companies for sure. Then over in the UK, we had super agency RWS that acquired a company called Obviously, which is an IP and brand asset management platform. So yeah, I found this one quite an interesting angle for them. So startup Obviously was founded in 2024. Again, given that RWS is a listed company, a publicly traded company, we do get some information around the sums paid or that will be paid. So they say RWS will pay £16.5 million in cash initially, and then there's an earn-out which could take the total transaction value up to £40 million.
Good for Obviously, huh? Starting in 2024, and then within 24 months,
2 years
you're
later,
it, 2 years later, good for them.
Exactly. So I think RWS plans to roll this into their Protect business unit. But yeah, not something that I'd heard of before. kind of focused on IP and brand asset management, as we heard. So we had another sort of story coming out of the UK from the Translation People, which is based up north in Manchester. They acquired a company in Germany called Cosirec, German LSI. That was towards the end of April. And then we also had another, this one actually is Spain to Spain, I think. It was an announcement by Phoenix and Flag that they acquired a majority stake in a Spanish LSI called Offi Lingua. And I think Phoenix and Flag might not be a name that people have heard.
It's very new.
It's very new, that's why. But so it is the new venture of Juan Julian Leon, who is the former Sepratech owner. And I think in the press release, or at least on LinkedIn, they were talking about this Offi Lingua majority acquisition being the foundation for a broader strategy of expansion, diversification, etc. So somewhat of a kind of platform for future growth there.
Offi Lingua was very much interpreting focused, public sector interpreting. I don't think a lot in text, mostly in interpreting, quite large. I don't know, 10, 15 million euro annual revenue. So so Juan Julian, welcome back. I think he's been out. Take two, take four. I don't know. It's been out of the market for a while now, and back in the game. So interesting. Welcome back.
Then we had a merger in the final M&A story that we're going to talk about today. We had a merger of 3 German LSIs, Comlexis, Text, Clinic, and DOG. This was a merger of operations, which resulted in the formation of a new platform or a new group called IMK Group. This is going to be spearheaded by somebody who might be familiar to many people in the industry, by Dr. Ing Wolfgang Sturz, who was the founder and former CEO of Transline Group.
Oh, he's coming back too. Incredible.
Yeah, there we go. Everyone's making a comeback. Yeah. You know what? I mean, maybe that's a good sign, if these people who've kind of done it once, been successful in, let's say exiting, are ready for another round. There's some confidence there, clearly. Wolfgang Sturz will be the managing director going forward of the group, replacing the MDs of the three companies that have now come together. They say IMK Group is going to be a holding structure, won't deliver operational language services directly, but it will provide a centralized tech architecture via a proprietary platform. Yes, so there we go.
Cool. Welcome
That's
back,
M&A.
Mr. Stortz.
Then on funding, I think there was just one that we wanted to highlight that wasn't sort of specifically voice AI related, which is a Tokyo-based company called Yellow Blue, a startup that secured, sounds more impressive in Japanese currency, 70 million, but in USD, about $400,000. So that was a seed funding that was led by a company called Mint. Again, very new startup founded in 2025. They're offering a translation app, like an AI translation app called Blue One. That's designed for businesses, professionals, and researchers. So
it's very much kind of in the document and image space, image translation, right? So like Bluent over in Singapore. All right, that wraps it for today. Again, do head to our website to get your tickets for SlatorCon San Francisco. Amazing agenda shaping up. Wednesday, September 2nd, and Thursday is the welcome reception and main conference on Thursday, September 3rd. We are not skimping on the hotel. It's the St. Regis in the heart of San Francisco. So where all the trillions are being minted, and maybe by the time we get there, coffee is like $10, maybe $20 or $10. It's probably already $10, $20 by the time we get there.
I have to wean myself off caffeine before then.
It's gonna be water all the way. Cool. All right. Thanks, Esther, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks again.